Okay, hello and welcome everybody to our webinar this afternoon on using Microsoft Teams for communication and collaboration. To get us started here, my name is Todd Knapp. I am Envision's founder and CEO, and very shortly I'll be on Teams and on video, and you guys will get to see me there, and I'll get to meet you face to face. But for now, we're going to just go through a couple of very quick housekeeping things. First of all, if you find the conversation interesting today, you want to continue the discussion, you are welcome to do that. You can email me directly. You can follow us on Facebook or on our Twitter feed. We're always talking about various technologies and things going on in the community. So hopefully you guys will join the discussion. We do want to hear questions from you. There is a place for you to do that, right in GoToWebinar. You can post your questions there. My marketing team is monitoring that. And I will be monitoring it as well. You know, if you have a question, don't hesitate. Please be patient, because if I'm in the middle of something, it may take me a minute to get back to it. The other thing that I wanted to mention about housekeeping is that I am going to be doing video conferencing inside of video conferencing today. I'm going to be using Microsoft Teams and Teams calling and Teams video from inside of a GoToMeeting. We're going to talk in a few minutes about why I used GoToMeeting for this and not Teams. The reality of that is that when we try and rebroadcast video and rebroadcast audio, that can lead to some oddities in video frame rate, things like that. So just be patient on the quality side of the video, please. With that, let's jump into some discussion about what Teams is and what Teams isn't. First of all, this whole meeting, this whole conversation is about why Microsoft Teams, why that for collaboration. And I think one of the things that I've been hearing a lot of lately is, oh, we now have to send our employees to work in a distributed fashion, or we expect that we're going to continue to have employees who work from home or from other locations for a long time to come, which I think is part of the business reality that we all live in now. For many companies, it was part of the business reality before this began, but I think part of what we've just done over the last 12 weeks is demonstrate that it's a very viable way to function. And so a lot of people are starting to say, okay, what tools do I need to be able to be effective with a distributed workforce? There is a substantial difference between Microsoft Teams and Zoom or GoToMeeting or any of these other conference platforms. The most fundamental difference is what you're seeing on the slide here. Zoom solves for 1, 2, maybe 3 problems. Zoom is about, can I get everybody into a video conference? Can I facilitate some limited chat? Can I facilitate some file sharing? And I'm not saying that Zoom is a bad platform, by the way. In fact, Envision has licensing for Zoom and for GoToWebinar and for GoToMeeting and for Microsoft Teams and for Teams Live events. We have a variety of tools at our disposal, but Zoom and Teams are not analogous. Teams is a collaborative platform. Teams is an ecosystem. Teams is about changing how our people work, how our people interact and communicate, and how our people define productivity. So we're going to step now into just kind of a quick glance. And by the way, in total, I think I have maybe 4 slides. We're going to spend almost all of this doing live technical demos, which are always, you know, an adventure and prone to prone to surprises. But when I talk about an ecosystem, Microsoft 365 is an ecosystem. We're talking about not just devices and Microsoft Teams, but we're talking about mobility tools and data analytics and tools for managing security and compliance, for things like multi-factor authentication and advanced threat protection. It's replacement of intranets. It's a whole new way of working and collaborating. And so those are the things that I want to spend time today talking about. Teams is about connecting disparate work environments so that they feel the same, okay? So regardless of whether I'm working in the office or from a park bench or from home or from my family's house up in Vermont, I should be able to do, you know, whatever I would do in my normal workday without disruption and without a lot of extra steps. If I'm in a conference room, it should feel like I'm sitting at my desk. If I'm sitting at my desk, it should feel like I am working, from home or from a boat. It should all be very homogeneous in the way that we function. And so that's what we're going to focus on today is what is Teams? How do we use it to create that kind of productivity, that kind of ecosystem? All right. This is Microsoft Teams. Now, I'm going to be talking about a number of different functionalities. A lot of you on this call may already have used Teams and be somewhat familiar with it. I also know there may be some people on the call that are not. So I'm going to take the first 5 minutes here to just talk through the very basic functionality of what Teams is. And then we're going to jump into the really fun stuff. So Microsoft Teams is first of all, chat, of course. So if I click on the chat icon here, you can see that there are 2 chats that I have not yet interacted with. They're bolded for me. The number 2 means that these are just things I haven't yet seen. All of these are communications with my individual employees. In Teams are workspaces. This is where we combine groups of similar people who have similar needs and similar use cases, and we put them into a workspace where they can share documents, where they can have meetings, where they can collaborate. And a team is just that. So teams have channels. And on the inside of a team, if I expanded out my marketing team, for example, or actually let's look at the Envision General. And by the way, this is Envision's live environment. Okay, so I talk all the time with my team about should we be using our live environment or not for demos. I think there's nothing better than seeing real world use cases. So if I expand the Envision General team, I've got channels inside of it. HR updates, marketing updates, some office redesign work that we did in response to preparing the office for people to come back post-COVID. A COVID help desk that we created for our employees, comments and feedback, corporate updates. This is actually a play area where we do Friday games with our employees that we named the Thunderdome, because what's better than that? We also have a tiki bar at Envision, and people put food out on the tiki bar and they want to announce what they've put out. So we have a tiki treats channel. This is going to be very unique to every single company, and to the culture of your individual company. But the idea is that if you look at the structure of Envision's team, the general team is for all employees. Below that, we've got some departmental teams, accounting and operations, my marketing team. I've got a workspace that's private to me. I've got workspaces that are for my management team. So now all my managers are in one group. And the idea is, like I said, that we're combining together groups of people that have similar use case, similar needs, to give them a place to collaborate and organize their thoughts and their documents. So that's the really, really high level. It's a pretty simple concept. On the left-hand side, activity here, anything that occurs in a chat or a team or a channel in which I am tagged shows up in my activity feed. Chats are here, teams are here. The @ symbol means that there are teams and channels in which I have been directly called out and have not yet viewed them. So if you look at my list of teams here, I've got some that are bolded. These are teams where there has been activity that I have not yet read, but it didn't specifically call me out. Here in the Marketing Wolfpack, there's a number 1 next to it. That means that somebody has tagged me very specifically in something. So if I expand this, I'm going to see that, oh, I was tagged in the webinars channel. Now, this is the channel that my marketing director and I use for all webinars that Envision does. This webinar, for example, was a conversation in this channel. So if I expand this and click on it, I'm going to see right here where it says Todd Knapp in bolded and red, and it says, hey, all the materials for today's webinar are ready to go. I want to acknowledge to Jeremy that I've seen this. I'm going to just click the thumbs up button, and now he knows that I've seen it. This was a challenge that I had asked him. I had asked him to get me some very specific infographics that I thought would be hard to find. He tagged me here and said, hey, I found these for you. I don't want to just give him a thumbs up. I want to tell him that I really do appreciate that. So these icons here are very quick ways, just emojis to quickly let people know that, yes, we've seen your post and we feel good about it, or yeah, like we we sometimes will have a post where somebody says, oh yeah, there's a new virus that was just released on the internet today, and you'll see all the engineers hitting it with a frowny face. Bummer, new virus, right? So that's the very simple fundamentals of Teams. Now, there are other icons here, and we're going to get to those. But for now, what I really want to focus on today is how to use this platform meaningfully to handle collaboration and communication. So first things first, people need to know what your situation actually is. Are you available to be communicated to or not? As you can see, Jeremy's got a little red icon, and it says he's in a meeting. This is actually being fed by his Outlook calendar. His Outlook calendar knows that he's in this webinar right now, that he's attending it, and so it's letting me know that he's actively participating in something. Doesn't mean he won't get my messages if I chat him here, or if I post to him here. It just means that he is busy doing something else, so maybe I don't want to try and directly call him. If I click on my chat here and look at my employee base, you'll see a variety of different statuses here. This one's green. This person's completely available right now. These people are in meetings or have other things going on. Folks that are yellow on this icon are going to be people like Jay Longley right here. He's yellow. This says he's away right now. Right now, that he might be away because he deliberately said it that way because he was joining this webinar. Could be that that he is legitimately walked away from his computer. For me, if I click the upper right-hand corner, I've set myself to do not disturb because I am actually presenting a webinar right now. I don't want a million things popping up. But there are things I can do to make it easier for people to understand what the state of things is. Oh, and actually, as you can see on the left-hand side here, Jay Longley just posted and said, I am in the webinar. He heard me talking about him. So just so he knows that I've seen this, of course, he's watching the webinar. I'm going to real quickly give this the thumbs up. Okay, so back to what I was saying. If I go up here to the upper right corner, I can click on this. I'm currently in Do Not Disturb, but I'm going to set a status message, and I'm going to let people know, please don't call. I'm in a webinar. I'm actually presenting. I'm presenting a webinar. Okay, and I'm also going to tick this box that says, hey, show this when people message me. So now when somebody tries to type a message in the chat window and I'm the recipient, it's actually going to pop up and say, hey, please don't call, please don't interrupt me. I'm actually presenting right now. I don't want people to see it all day. I only want them to see it for the next hour while this webinar is running. I'll click done. And now I have provided additional communication to my team so that they know what my status actually is. That can be a really important part of using Teams. Now, the fun part. Let's talk about creation and management of teams and how to do things that are really, really cool within the platform. So to do this, we're going to create a department. We're going to recreate my marketing department. So I'm going to click down here on Join or Create a Team, and I'm going to go and create one. Now I've got choices. I can create one from an existing Office 365 group or a team. I can build a team from scratch. I'm just going to do that. I can make it a private team or a public team. If I was the global admin for this tenant, I could also make it org-wide so that everybody is automatically a member. In this case, I'm going to create a private team, and I'm going to call this Marketing Department. And I'm going to click Create. And nice work, we've created a team. Now I'm going to add some members to the marketing department. Well, Jeremy Gerard's my marketing director, as you can see, and Meg is a marketing specialist at Envision. So I'm going to add the two of them to this team. Now I have a choice here. I can make them members, I can make them owners. In this case, I'm just going to make them members. So I've now created a marketing department team, and there's a general channel. The first thing I'm going to do with the general channel is I want the general channel to be a place where I, as the team owner, can announce things to my people without them necessarily being able to clutter this space up with messages of their own. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to manage this channel, and I'm going to change it so that only owners can post messages in this channel. Okay? Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to post a message. But I want it to be a message that they're going to notice, so I'm going to make it an announcement, and I'm going to change it from a conversation to an announcement, and I'll pick a nice bright background here. Let's go with a blue. New channel for marketing. please start posting all marketing related items here. Now, if I want to, I can put an @ symbol in this. And as soon as I put an @ symbol in it, and I start typing, for example, marketing, Teams is going to say, oh, you want this to go to everyone at the marketing department. You want to call everyone out so that it shows up in their activity and so that they get the @ symbol. And I'm going to say, hey, gang, I created this, still building. Keep an eye out for more. And I'm just going to go ahead and post this up. So I've now created a announcement post inside of my channel for marketing, but let's build this thing out. Let's build out the department. So first things first, I'm going to add a channel. And the first channel I'm going to add is I want to be able to talk to my team about marketing, about some analytics. So I'm going to create a channel for analytics. And that's adding. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a channel that's going to be for brainstorming. I'll add that. And then I'm going to add a channel that I'm going to call conference room. And we'll add another channel. We're only going to add a couple more. And we'll make a channel that we're going to call marketing videos. And I'm going to add one last channel that is going to be suggestion box. Now, I'm creating a framework for my people to collaborate and communicate. Now, maybe there's a lot of people in this department, and I don't know, I mean, Envision's got a great company culture, but you know, maybe I'm worried that the suggestion box might get out of control in some ways. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the suggestion box, manage this channel, and I'm going to turn on post moderation and say, okay, the only people that can moderate are team owners, or I can choose other people that I want to have be moderators and add them to this. So first things first, do I want to allow people to reply to channel messages? Yes, I do. Do I want to allow bots to submit channel messages? No, I don't. Do I want to allow connectors to submit channel messages? No, I don't. So I'm going to create a channel where I can create posts and people can reply to them. Now I'm going to go into my conference room. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little icon down here that is the Meet Now icon. As soon as I click that icon, it's going to say, do you want to join the call? And here we go into our Meet Now. And this is where things get fun because I've got multiple tools using my webcam at the same time. So if you'll all just bear with me for 1 second here. Just going to delete a couple of these things. There we are. And now we'll turn on the webcam. There we go. Hi, gang. All right, so now I can see you, and well, you can see me. I can't see you just yet. But what I've done is I went into my team and I joined that Meet Now button. And I remember, if you recall, I'm going back to my team here down at the bottom. I went into conference room and I clicked the little Meet Now button. Now, the beautiful thing about the Meet Now button is that it means that I don't have to manually create a meeting. I don't manually need to invite anybody. I just went to the conference room and clicked on Meet Now, just like walking into a conference room in real life. If I now want someone to join, oh, and actually it looks like Jeremy's going to join me in the conference room. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, I just saw there was a meeting in the conference room. I saw someone was in. I wanted to see what was going on.
Yep, I am. And actually, I wanted to grab Meg and include you guys. You are, by the way, on my live webinar. So surprise, there's lots of people watching you. In fact, there's like 70 people watching you. So I'm going to click on Show Participants right now. Now, you'll notice that on the right-hand side, I didn't invite Megan to this meeting, but because Megan is a member of the channel and she's a member of the conference room by virtue of being a member of the team, Teams is saying, hey, these are the people in the meeting, and these are the people that are a member of the channel that aren't in the meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, you know what, why don't you ask her to join? And so Teams is going to proactively reach out to her and invite her into this meeting. So we'll just give that a second here. And Jeremy, you may have noticed I created a whole new team that you're now a member of. Oh, and actually Meg has declined the invite. So she, oh, nope, never mind, she's back. Oh, I thought you had declined my invite, Meg. Welcome to our webinar, Meg. So I have created a team here, and I'm demonstrating to a bunch of people that are on this call right now how we use Microsoft Teams for collaboration. So I'm going to work on that with Jeremy for a minute, but before I do, Meg, would you just take a look in the team? You're going to notice that I created a channel, and the channel was for marketing videos. I know you've been working on some new marketing videos. Can you just jump out of this conference room and post a few of those for me in the channel?
Sure thing. I'll check back in a few minutes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Okay, so while Meg is doing that, Jeremy and I are going to demonstrate a few collaboration features. So I'm going to go back to my team, and right here in the brainstorming channel, I'm going to start a post. Hey, Jeremy. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to throw an @ symbol in front of his name, and that's going to just raise a flag on his side. And I'm going to ask him, can you help me with this file? Now, I can do that, or I can just go, hey, Jeremy, we're in the same conference room together. Can you please help me with a file? I'm going to post it in the channel for brainstorming, right?
Sure can, Todd.
Awesome. But for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to now take a PowerPoint file from a different webinar that we did, and I'm just going to drop it right against this post. And you can see that the file is actually uploading right now. And it's a big file. I'm putting a big one up there. I think it's like 15, 20 meg. I'm going to click send on this post. Now, when I created that, the file was actually uploaded against Microsoft SharePoint, which is what backs Microsoft Teams. As I said, this is an ecosystem of collaboration tools. So here's our file. I'm going to go ahead and open the file, and I'm just going to click on it and say, open this thing in PowerPoint. And we're going to see, I've already got some PowerPoint running here, so I got all kinds of stuff going on. Here's my file is opened, and I'm going to just drag this onto the screen, make sure you guys can see it. So I'm going to ask Jeremy to go ahead and jump in that file. Can you do that for me, Jeremy?
Yep, a minute.
Awesome. And actually, you can see right now, upper right-hand corner, Jeremy Gerard is here. So Jeremy and I are working on this file at the same time. And Jeremy, why don't you just pick any random slide? I don't care where you go, somewhere in the deck. So Jeremy's now working somewhere in the deck. I don't necessarily know where. It's easy enough for me to find out. I can just mouse over his slide, and it's going to say, hey, Jeremy's got this presentation open. And as I move around, I can see this little icon. There's Jeremy. And you can actually see in real time, he's changing this text. And I'm going to collaborate with him and say, is forever changed. Our world and the way that we all work is forever changed for the better. So Jeremy's getting these updates at the same time as I'm getting the updates. Now, I could also be down here working on this slide, and I'm going to have Jeremy pick out, I don't care, any other slide, Jeremy, whatever you want, go and change something elsewhere in the deck for me. And I'm going to say review your communication tools sooner than later, and just kind of edit this slide a little bit. Now, you'll notice that up here on this slide 5, Jeremy's no longer here, but there's a new icon. This icon is telling me that, hey, somebody changed something and I haven't seen it yet. And there's actually a box around the piece that got changed, and I can mouse over it and it tells me that Jeremy Gerard a few seconds ago made the change. And what he did is he bolded this text, right? Now, again, I don't know where Jeremy is right now, but I can mouse over him and it says Jeremy Gerard is on slide 14. So I will go down to slide 14, and I'm going to see that Jeremy's here and that he's been working on this section. It highlights it for me. So just a very quick demo, but the idea is that Microsoft Teams versus Zoom. Zoom is designed to give us a place to have a meeting on video. Teams is designed to create a gateway into other applications and other things that you would use for collaboration. So if I go up into files now, I'm going to find that there is this maintaining culture file. Now, maybe I also have a panelist prep that I want to work on with Jeremy at some point. I can just drag that into the files. I don't actually need to create a post around it. But one of the things that's valuable about Teams is the idea that where you store information is contextual to what that information is and how people are going to use it. The conversation around the data matters. And so if you went back and you looked at our Teams channel and looked at our real world marketing channel, and I go back down and find that webinars channel that I was in earlier, you will see all kinds of conversation about this webinar. So this is back on Monday. There were 36 people signed up for the webinar. There's a ton of people on the webinar right now. It accelerated big time today, but there's a whole conversation thread where we were selecting graphics. Remember this graphic from the slide deck earlier? Jeremy did this research for me and found this. I asked him to find me a few infographics and he grabbed those. This is where he said, you know, hey, you and I need to connect tomorrow. And I said, can you talk now? He said, I can. And so we clicked a button and boom, we were connected instantly. Out of curiosity, Jeremy, oh, hey, Meg's back. Hi, Meg.
Hi, Todd.
Fair to say that that if I go into my Teams here, I'm going to find a video now?
Yeah, two actually. I was hoping to get your feedback on.
Okay, cool. So actually, if I go back down to my marketing, so I'm going to go in here, and Meg tagged me personally in both of these. Hey, Todd Knapp, what do you think of this? It's this quote that's 33 seconds. Now, if I were to click on this, it's going to launch Microsoft Stream, which is also part of the cloud ecosystem. And there's going to be a video that she edited and created and posted inside of Stream. Think of it as a private YouTube. And this is for a panel discussion. But a big part of who we are at Envision is about saying, listen, there is no such thing as remote work. I really am tired of the remote work, the remote learning conversation. So this was a really cool panel discussion that we had on the subject of remote collaboration. Now, one of the things I want everyone to notice is this is Stream, part of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, part of the Microsoft Teams collaboration platform. And within Stream, and actually you can see that this is an email I just received, even though my Outlook isn't open. The 365 ecosystem connects all things together and makes sure that the things I need to know bubble up to the top. One of the things Stream has done is dynamically created a transcript of the conversation for me. So if I wanted to know what we were talking about, and I said, oh, what was that part where we were talking about using technology to find ways to break down barriers, I can look through the transcript real quick, and I can say, oh, there's that section. It's at 31 seconds. I actually can click on it. It'll pull me right into that moment. Use technology to find. So the whole idea behind Microsoft Stream and also using that as part of Teams is that, you know, this is content that Meg is working on to put onto our public-facing social channels. One of the things that's very cool about Microsoft Stream is that Stream is only internal. It's a private YouTube. There is no way for that content to be shared externally, short of downloading it and physically posting it online. So it's a great place for Meg and I to collaborate and for her to put a draft of a video she's edited, and right there I can put notes and say, hey, at 31 seconds, change this, or, you know, spelling error at 18 seconds if I were the one editing it. Meg, how often would you say you and I use this platform?
Several times a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant thing for us on the video side of the house. Thanks, Meg. I'll pull you back in if I need you.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Have a
See
good
ya.
one.
All right, so right now, Jeremy's actually muted his video for a moment, and he's actually also muted his microphone. This is one of the ways that he can put a call on hold when he's working on something else. I assume that something's come up in the background, but that's fine, because what I'm going to do is go back to my team, and I'm just going to go take a look at some of the other areas that I've got. And actually, I can see Jeremy has reappeared up there in the top. But while we're waiting, let's look at this analytics thing. Maybe one of the things that I'm trying to do is to understand what the adoption of my Microsoft Teams deployment is and my Microsoft Office 365 deployment. And I have pulled in marketing to help me manage that. if that were the case, we need a way to see whether or not what we're doing is having impact. That's where Power BI comes in. Microsoft Power BI is their business intelligence platform. I can connect Power BI to data. I can create visualizations of that data and make it easy to understand the health and well-being of the data set that I'm looking at. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little plus sign up here, add a tab. I'm going to choose Power BI, and I'm going to scroll down and find my 365 usage analytics dashboard that I built earlier. And Power BI is now going to be directly embedded into my Microsoft Teams deployment. And I'm going to actually distribute my analytics content that way. And I may want to know, what's my individual product usage look like? This is all interactive, where now I can start to say, let's look at Teams and see what the adoption rate is by month. Let's go look at what we've got sitting in OneDrive. How much data do we have sitting in Exchange? I have, activation and licensing and executive overviews. And this is a stock dashboard that Microsoft creates that we can connect to our own data set. So I'm going to rename this and call this adoption, and we'll use it to decide whether or not people are using Teams. And if they're not, then Jeremy and I will kick off more marketing campaigns to help educate people about the value. The other thing that we may be doing is I sit on the board of the Boy Scouts, and so I've been helping them to take some public information that's been hard to get access to and make it easier to access. So I'm going to show this to Jeremy because I want Jeremy to know, and he's got to help me build a marketing campaign around this. So I'm just going to go to Power BI and add this dashboard for the Scouts. And I'll go ahead and, while it's loading, just rename this Boy Scouts. And this is 100 years of records of Eagle Scouts. It's public information, but it's my ability to very quickly look at what is the trend of the number of Eagle Scouts per year since we started collecting data in the Narragansett Council back in 1914. So you can see that the program grew and the number of Eagle Scouts grew, but you can also see a really interesting thing in the data here, which is that every couple of years there's a big dip in the number of Eagles that we produce. That was new information to the Boy Scouts when we started this exploration. But this is an example of using integration of disparate applications in Microsoft Teams. Now, another thing I might do in my general tab is say, you know what, Envision actually has a company store for branded shirts and things like that. I want marketing to help me maintain and edit it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a tab in here, and I'm going to just choose a website and integrate a website into Microsoft Teams. And I'm going to call this company store. And down here, put the URL in. It's envisionsuccess.net/shop is our company store, and save this. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking resources that people might have otherwise had to go hunt for, and I'm making them a component of Microsoft Teams so that they're easy to find. Now, in the old days, we used to think about things like intranets as ways to do that. Let's take, and have an intranet where we're going to aggregate together a bunch of web resources. One of the things that I've been advocating quite a bit lately, especially in small and medium businesses, is that the day of the intranet is kind of over. I'm not saying it's totally dead. I'm saying that for the most part, Microsoft Teams is the hub through which your people work, as opposed to creating an intranet, which previously used to be considered a hub where people could work, right? Now, another thing that I might do is down here in brainstorming, I might say, okay, Jeremy, we need to manage our marketing plan. And so Jeremy and I do have a marketing plan, and we store that marketing plan in Microsoft Planner. So I'm going to go in right now on my other screen, which you guys can't see, and I'm going to grab a copy of the link to my plan, and I'm going to go ahead and add a tab here. Again, this is just going to be a web tab, and I'm going to call it Marketing Plan. I'm going to paste the URL and save it. Now here's Microsoft Planner, and this is Envision's marketing plan. A little busy, huh? Lots going on in this plan. So these are things that Jeremy and I need to do: websites and microsites, social media, literature and proposals, lead generation, live events, videos, and sway. And each of these is tagged with a tag that tells us what department that's for. And so one of the things I can do is say, you know what, I want to go and look at just the marketing plan for my DID group. And so when I click it, it now filters down everything. And now I know for DID, these are the things I need to do for the website. This is what I need to do for literature. This is what I need to do for live events. Now, I might also be looking at this as the business leader and say, you know what? There's nothing on the plan right now for social media and press releases. We need to add some things. So I'm going to just add a quick task. Prepare weekly blog posts in advance. And I'm going to just hit enter on that. And now I've created a task. I'm going to go in and say, you know what? Let's at least create a schedule. And then we can handle assignments. There. And I'm going to say, show this on the card. And now I've got a task. Now, Jeremy might look at this and say, you know what? Creating weekly blog posts, that's actually a website thing more than it is a social media thing. You know, Todd's the CEO. He's an old dude. He doesn't know the difference. I'm just going to put this where it actually belongs. It is a good idea. Probably belongs fairly high on the list. I'm just going to click and drag it and drop it into second position under websites and microsites. And then I'm going to go back to my filters and dump my filter labels and go back to, whoops, excuse me, looking at my entire plan. So again, we're talking in this whole session about the difference between Teams and Zoom. Jeremy, you've used both. How much of this can you do in Zoom?
Can't do any of this in Zoom.
Can't do any of this in Zoom, I know.
We could meet in Zoom and talk about doing this.
Fair enough. Now, one of the things that I really love about Teams, I'm an old school kind of guy in some ways. I have had in my office, mounted on my wall for, I don't know, my entire professional career, an 8-foot wide what, Jeremy? What's always been, yeah, my whiteboard. I've always had a whiteboard in my office, right? And threw it away. I'm done with whiteboards. Part of the reason I'm done with whiteboards is that I'm using a regular desktop PC right now in my house. But if you look down here in the lower right-hand corner of the video window, you'll see my little video. Hello, everybody. I'm going to just hold this up. This is a Microsoft Surface tablet. Now, whether you use a Microsoft Surface tablet or you use a Dell 2-in-1 or a Lenovo 2-in-1 really doesn't matter. But I have my little smart pen here as well. Now, these silly little things have been around since Palm Pilots, if you remember those things, right? And they never quite worked right. But it's a different world now. And so one of the things that's valuable in Microsoft Teams is that as a presenter, I'm in this meeting with Jeremy, I can actually join this meeting twice under my user account. So right here from my Microsoft Surface, I'm going to go into my Teams. I'm going to go find my marketing department team that we just created, go to the conference room, and I'm going to click on meeting, and I'm going to join this meeting. Now, I'm going to join this meeting without a camera and a microphone, okay? Now, if I wanted to, I could turn on the camera and be like, hello, and add a second camera to this entire equation. Now, what you'll notice is Jeremy laughed because Jeremy's seeing it. I, on the other hand, am logged into my desktop, the screen that I'm sharing with everyone here, as me. It's not going to show me twice, right? So Jeremy's seeing it, you guys aren't. But what's really cool about this is that I have the ability to now say, all right, from my mobile device, I'm actually going to just share this screen, and I'm going to share my Microsoft Whiteboard. Now, Teams knows that my desktop is the one that's authoritative right now for my video camera and for my headset. And it knows that the touch tablet I'm using is what I want to use to share my screen. So I'm going to start building my, let's do a, I don't care, let's do a workflow diagram. Oops, here we go, blue pen, workflow diagram. and you guys get to see how terrible my handwriting is. This is why my people hate it when I whiteboard. Now, this is where it gets really cool. So I'm going to pull up this on the screen. This is not Microsoft Teams. This is actually an application that is showing you my cell phone. So as you can see, I'm swiping around on my cell phone right now. Now, the reason I'm showing you this, and I'm going to jump back into Teams for just a moment here, is maybe I am that old school guy and I've got a whiteboard, or I had written down some notes on a sheet of paper like the one I'm holding in my hand that you can see in the lower right-hand corner of the video. I want to use this in my workflow diagram, even though it's a sheet of paper. So I'm going to go back to my cell phone, and I'm going to click on Office Lens. And you can see the icon for Office Lens right there. This is an app on my phone. And now you're seeing the camera from my cell phone. Hello. So in Office Lens, on my desk, you can see I've got a sheet of paper with some notes I made. Now you can also see Office Lens is detecting that sheet of paper, which is why we're starting to see orange lines around it. It's trying to border the document. You'll also notice that down here in the corner, it says whiteboard. It's asking, what are you about to take a photo of? Is this a whiteboard? Is it a document? Is it a business card? What are you doing? So I'm going to say, you know what? This is a whiteboard. And I'll turn my phone sideways for this. And I'm going to let it frame up my document and snap a photo of it. So now I've got this photo of my document. And as you can see, it's got little boundaries around it. So I'm going to just say, yep, this is actually what I wanted. And it's going to flatten out my document, crop out the balance of the image. And this looks pretty good to me, actually. I'm going to leave it just as is, and I'm going to click the Done button. Now, what it's saying is, what do you want to do with it? I'm going to let it automatically write it to OneDrive. And so I'll click Save, and you can see it's waiting for transfer, and now it's already transferred. So let's go back to Teams. So here we are in Microsoft Teams, my meeting with Jeremy, and I've got my whiteboard up. And I'm doing my whiteboard from my Microsoft Surface. So right now, I'm using a desktop computer to run my Teams meeting. I'm using a Surface to do my whiteboarding, and I just used my cell phone to capture a picture of a sheet of paper. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to hold my finger down right here on the whiteboard, and I'm going to say, let's attach an image. And up here at the top is the most recent image. Click Open. And there's that photo that I just took. Because Microsoft OneDrive, in combination with SharePoint, in combination with Teams, creates a unified ecosystem, this document was already on the device I'm working on. So I'm going to blow it up. Now, right now, it's just a picture. There's nothing real exciting about a photo. I want to edit this thing. See that magic wand? We're going to use artificial intelligence in the Microsoft Azure cloud in real time by tapping that wand. It's going to analyze my photo, convert it to digital ink, and then I'm going to take the backside of my pen where the eraser would be, and I'm just going to clean up the image and remove those couple boundaries that were in the photo. And there we go. Now I've got my diagram, and now I can start to say, you know what? Part of what we need to be bringing into Teams is social media. So I'm going to add social to this, put a box around it, and add it to my diagram. I might also think that this is one of the more important things we have, so I'll highlight that for Jeremy's benefit. The last thing I'm going to do with this whiteboard is make sure that Jeremy can view it in perpetuity. So I'm just going to click this icon in the upper right corner, the little add icon, and I'm going to invite Jeremy. I'm just going to start writing his name in my terrible handwriting. And as crappy as my handwriting is, it did detect Jeremy Gerard, and I'll add him and invite him to this whiteboard. And Jeremy, I know what's going on in your head right now. He's like, ooh, I'm going to open that up and edit it. It's not necessary. I think they get it. So now Jeremy has this whiteboard. Now, I use Whiteboard intensely. So these are all whiteboards that I have. There are probably at least 100 of them. And I notate them, and you can see all the little sharing icons on them. I share them with people. They're stored in the cloud. They're accessible to me from everywhere. So unlike my old whiteboard that I had in my office, what's great about this is that when I'm done whiteboarding and I leave the office and I go home, that whiteboard is on my home computer. It's on all my mobile devices. And so what you just witnessed was using 3 completely disparate devices in harmony with each other to collaborate with my colleague Jeremy here. Okay, so there's a question, and I'm going to take a half a second to see what was actually there. Wow, this is an awesome question. All right, I work in a company with more than 20,000 colleagues. How do you advise to get them connected in teams for overall information, info about organization changes, well-being? Members of our team can be difficult to reach, and not everyone's in teams at the moment. So this is a phenomenal question, especially in an organization of that scale. In fact, there are adoption guides available from Microsoft and services that companies like Envision provide to help with adoption of Microsoft Teams. But the real value here are things like what I'm doing right now. When people see what's possible, when they see that, you know, at any point, I mean, look what we did in less than 30 minutes here, actually building this. We've built a department that has integrated analytics, that has managed project plans, that has a conference room that people can jump in and out at any point that they want to, a place where they can do editing of videos, and, you know, a place where they can post suggestions to help make the departmental operations better. It's a no-brainer, right? But the problem is that people view Teams, they talk about Teams in the same conversation with Zoom. They talk about Teams in the same conversation with GoToMeeting. And those are tools for video conferencing, nothing more, not for creating a hub through which all work and collaboration can be done. So Jeremy, as long as I've got you in the conference room here, give me your thoughts. I mean, you were there before Envision was running Teams 3 years ago. We were early adopters. How has your life changed?
Dramatically so. The fact that I have this one access point for all of my communication, my collaboration, all of my file storage, everything I need is right there. I remember the days when we used to have to collaborate on documents where I would send you a copy and then you would be editing a copy, but I still had work to do on it. So now I had a copy, and then we had to merge them together, much less if we had to bring in other authors as well. The fact that we can all collaboratively be working on a document, it dramatically has cut down the time it takes for us to produce them. And additionally, we never have to worry about, am I working on the latest version? The latest version is the only version. And that has made my life so much easier. Dramatic reduction in the amount of time it takes us to produce all of these materials. And that's just the marketing collaboration. You know, the fact that I also, within that same application that I'm doing all of my work, that I can get my HR updates, that I can get documents that I may need that would have normally been on like an intranet, like you mentioned. The fact that you mentioned the word hub, everything I need to do is there, including just, you know, beeping over now that we have, you know, we're this distributed workforce. The fact that I can just easily touch base with someone I haven't spoken to in a while, once again, on the same platform, and just have a casual conversation and see how they're doing, that's incredibly powerful.
So or live captioning. So what I'm showing you guys right now is, you know, I asked Jeremy a question because I knew he had big opinions on it, and Jeremy and our life changed with this platform. But this is a brand new feature. This is still in beta. It's the ability for Microsoft Teams in real time to hear what we're saying, convert it to text, and make it more accessible to people that might, say, have a hearing impairment or are in an environment that's atypically loud. But one of the cooler things about this feature, and I'm just going to turn this feature off for a moment, is let's real quickly get Meg back in the conversation here. Just going to pull her back in. Here she comes. Well, it says it's calling her. We'll see if she answers. I might be surprising her right now. We didn't warn her we were going to do this. Ah, there she is. Hi, Meg.
Hey, Todd. How's it
Do me a
going?
favor, would you? I know that you are a Spanish speaker. Can I get you to post something for me in the brainstorming channel of our department that we've created? And I will respond to you then. All right.
Okay.
So I'm just going to bounce Meg right out. I'm going to click remove participant. So that's my demonstration to show you that you do actually have control over it. I can proactively go here and mute Jeremy. I can pin his video. I can reduce his rights within the meeting by making him an attendee. And then similarly, there is a chat inside of this, and attendees can raise and lower their hands. And of course, Teams has all the virtual backgrounds similar to a Zoom. Likewise, you can start recordings and record the meetings, which, by the way, when you record a meeting, gets recorded automatically into Stream. And as the person that created the meeting, you can go into Stream and say, create transcript file, and it'll convert everything that was said into text for you automatically. But let's go back to our team real quick. One of the things that I wanted you to see related to live translation is there's now a post in brainstorming that I haven't seen yet. And it says something in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. That's okay. I'm going to mouse over this, and I'm going to say translate. Hey, Todd, what's your dog's name? Nemo. So I can still go back and say, you know what, show this to me in its original form and convert it back to its original source language. But the vision and the roadmap for that live captioning that you saw is the idea that you might have, you know, like this person who posted a question, 20,000 people in a company in 17 countries where they are not all necessarily native English speakers. Wouldn't it be amazing to be able to get into a live Teams meeting and as people are talking, even if they're speaking in another language, real-time live translation captioned underneath the video? That's where that's headed. And you can see Meg gave it the little heart reaction. That's because she knows Nemo and she likes Nemo. Everybody likes Nemo. So already, the real-time, the ability to do, you know, live translation, and in the tenant you can select, I think it's up, I think there are 25 languages now that you can select in the tenant to turn on, so that if you have people that are not native English speakers, it's easier to communicate, and for them as well, converting into their own language too. So I've shown you a whole lot of really advanced features. I'm going to end with saying this, and Jeremy, I'm going to bounce you out of the meeting now. Thank you so much for participating. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So we'll just click remove participant. Jeremy's out. The last thing I wanted you guys to see is just a couple of thoughts, because there's only 5 minutes left and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Let's talk about advanced features. Unbelievably, none of the stuff that I just showed you are actually even the advanced features of Microsoft Teams. When we talk about advanced features, what I'm really talking about is the ability, for example, to integrate third-party apps. And so, you know, going into Teams and saying, okay, in my channel down here, I'm going to add an application. If you look at the application list of non-Microsoft products that you can integrate, and these are just the ones that took the time to build an integration. And by the way, you can manage them. As an administrator, you can turn this on and off. And I showed earlier, you know, certainly Envision's third-party web store isn't in this list, but I still integrated it anyway. Anything that's cloud-based can be tied into Microsoft Teams. This is where you really start to go, okay, you know, we've got a department that adopted Jira early in life. So we really want to get Jira Cloud or Jira Server integrated into Teams. We want to pull that in. We've got some employees that long before we settled on Teams said, let's use Trello. Just because we decide to settle on Teams going forward doesn't mean that we have to do a hard stop on the tools people already know how to use. We can still leverage those. With things like Microsoft Power Automate and Power Apps, we can create integrations and automations to real-world infrastructure. I can create live chat bots that will come up to me and say, hey, machine number 33 on the manufacturing floor is producing an unusual vibration. Do you want to shut it down? And in natural language, I can say, yes, shut down and notify Jeremy. And we can use natural language interpretation and Microsoft Power Automate to interact with that machine and shut it down through a chat and simultaneously notify Jeremy that that's happened. Those are the kinds of advanced things we can do with Teams. We can create the ability in Teams to automate things in our business that we've always traditionally done manually. So, as you can see, I get a little excited about this stuff. I'm passionate about it. I will end with this thought. how do you have success with Microsoft Teams? Success with Microsoft Teams, in my mind, comes down to really 3 or 4 things. Number one, it has to be top down. I am Envision's founder and CEO. I adopted Teams, me and my CTO got excited about it and adopted it very early in its life cycle. And we were the ones that went out to our staff and said, this could make our lives better. The second thing is, what devices are we making available to our people? What are we using for cell phones and for tablets? Are we providing them with pen input devices? Because this is real value now. I don't ever print, sign, scan, and return a contract anymore. I open it and I sign it. That's all I do. That's all anybody should do. My team, our engineers, they want to whiteboard with third parties, with customers. They need these technologies to do that. And Envision isn't perfect in this. We're on our own journey for transformation, and so we're making decisions every day about how we want to rethink what a conference room really looks like. Do conference rooms even have whiteboards in them anymore? Do conference rooms even have TVs in them anymore? Or when you go into a conference room and sit down, are there Microsoft Go tablets at every single station with these things? And when somebody's presenting, everybody's got their presentation inches in front of their face. Instead of squinting from the end of the table, even a 50-inch TV, the text is tiny, right? So having the right technology, having that top-down approach, and then next is security and control. All of these things that I was describing to you there's a control plane conversation there. And being able to secure the data that's now going into Teams and that is on mobile devices and home computers and ensure that there isn't data leakage, as advanced as Teams is, and with all the stuff I've shown you, there is an equally advanced and equally innovative ecosystem of security that's part of 365 that would make it possible for you to functionally liberate your data, to not care anymore where a file goes, because you know that the security of the file lives in the file, regardless of whether it's in your network or not. That's an incredibly powerful concept. So, to me, I made a list of potential Teams demos, and, my marketing department made me promise I would say this. There is way more than was possible for us to demonstrate in 1 hour. We are going to reach out to everybody that was on this webinar, and there were a lot of you after the event. If you want to schedule some time to go into some deeper dives on these features or go over some other things about it, learn more about the security, learn more about the control plane, by all means, ask for the conversation. It's not something we charge to do. We're just advocates for a new way for us to think and work as a community. So, we have been forced, everybody everywhere suddenly was forced to send our employees home. A lot of us were forced to work in new environments and more challenging environments in some ways. We did it. We got through it the last 12 weeks. A lot of us did. There are companies that didn't, but a lot of us did. Now it's on us to start reimagining what we want the future to be and take these tools and use them in more meaningful ways to make our people's lives better. Over the course of this COVID event, I have had 0 phone calls with my staff. Every conversation was face-to-face, every last one of them. I click on their icon and we're face-to-face. I send them a chat, hey, you got a moment? Yep, I do, cool, can I pop in? No different than if they were in the office and I chatted them and said, hey, you have a second, can I pop into your cube, right? Same conversation. So I will leave you with that. As we go forward, lean on Envision. This is what we're here for. Reach out to us, follow us, learn more about what digital transformation can do for you, your company, and your people. And thank you all so much for taking the time today to join me and talk about this really exciting topic. Have a great day today.